and just build his name like this, you know? How many times are they gonna fall? Traditional type of wood blocks, if I would hold the letter the correct way. Oh, that's a 1. That's why there's the L. And I'm gonna try to remember how to do this because my son destroyed this, which, I mean, we just. Hey guys, my name is Courtney and I'm a homeschool mama to 2 boys. My oldest is 4.5. He is actually almost 5. And then my youngest is 2, well, 2.5. And so time just goes different when you have your second. And so I have been homeschooling now. Let's see, I've done a whole preschool year with my oldest, and then we also are doing our pre-kinder right now, and we are at 13 weeks currently. Because of where we live, we have really long winters, and then we have really mild, wonderful summers and springs and falls, and so we really want to enjoy that time before we're in the winter for the long haul. And so we start our school years kind of like the end of September. So I've also done 2 summers of homeschooling, again, very light homeschooling stuff. So one of the things that I find a lot of people kind of is daunting is teaching your child their ABCs and counting, but then also is learning their name. And so if your child is like mine, or not, honestly, or not. But my son has a very long, complicated name. And so if your child has a long name, or maybe your child's just kind of struggling with their learning their name, or maybe you as a parent or a guardian are struggling with how to teach your child their name, then I have a few ideas that we are currently implementing. We implemented many of these for our preschool year last year, and we are currently doing for our pre-kinder. And so I'm gonna throw some of these out. So I hope some of these are helpful. Maybe some of these are ideas that you haven't thought about, or maybe some of them are just new ways to kind of shake up what you've already been trying. And either way, your child will eventually learn, okay? They will eventually learn their name, they will learn to recognize their name, they will learn to spell their name, they will learn to build their name. All these different things are ways to help. It may take longer for certain children and shorter time for other children, but eventually they will learn. Now, my focus for this video is going to be learning their first name. It is also very important that they learn their last name as well. Particularly, that's what we do in America. They need to know their first name and their last name, and you know, they start writing that on all their papers and stuff in public school. And sometimes with homeschooling, as a homeschooling mom, that is just something we tend to lose kind of like track of doing, right? Like, you know, I don't have a stack of 27 papers, so I don't need my son to write his name on all of his stuff, and I tend to grade as right? He's 4.5. I tend to grade as he's doing it, right? We do most of his stuff together. So this is an area where I also don't really have him practice his name. And so I actually have an idea for that to get him to continue obligated, right? That he's kind of obligated to do his name now in all of the paperwork that we do, and I will share with that in just a minute. So let's jump right in. Okay, so kind of like step 1 where you want to start is your child just obviously needs to start recognizing their name. Okay, they may not be able to spell it, they may not be able to say all the letters in there, but they do need to start just recognizing like, hey, that's my name, you know? And whether that's just you constantly pointing it out or you have reminders. So, you know, besides it just being like cute and popular, it's very helpful to have your child's name in their room, okay? So I'll put a little bit of a B-roll of my son and his room, of a couple of the different items we have in his room. And I will tell you what, that has actually been very helpful, that he is able to see that when he's in his room playing or sitting in his bed, he is able to see that. And of course it has prompted a lot of discussions from my husband and I to say, oh look, there's your name. And so again, whether your son or daughter have a very complicated name or not, it's very good to have not just the letter that their name starts with, but their actual name somewhere in their house, whether it's in your playroom, whether it's in a book that your child owns, whether it's what is it? you know, you don't have to go out and go crazy like I did with the name things. So the big wall thing, I did actually make that. Maybe that's a video in and of itself. I actually made that with the help of my husband. My younger son has the exact same thing. Of course, it's his name instead. And then the blue sheet that you saw, that was actually a gift that my best friend, his mom gave me that, and my other son has one as well, and it just kind of gives the biblical meaning behind their name. And then we do have lots of the typical, you know, in and stuff around. So obviously, if you notice, my son's name is Nehemiah. So he has a very challenging name to pronounce, let alone to spell. And so recognizing it was huge for us, and he picked up on it very quickly. And I do think the fact that we had it in his room was very helpful. He also has gone to speech therapy since he was barely over 1. And so she would put his name on a lot of his papers. And so when we would put him on the fridge and stuff, again, whether I was pointing it out or not, I think he started to just put 2 and 2 together. And then we don't actually have a lot of books with my son's name. Actually, we don't have any. The only ones we have are the Bible, right? Or any books that have the story of Nehemiah in it. He has it there, but we actually don't have any books that are like, a lot of times like for Christmas and stuff, like people will get those books for their children that are specified to their name, and I think that's awesome. You totally do that. That is just not something we have done, but again, it adds that recognition component. Okay, the other one we do is I have these name tags, and of course this is for our homeschooling, right? And so he has a couple different versions. The reason why I have 2 is because the white one he was actually tracing, it doesn't really show up on the camera, but it has kind of gotten messed up. So those I just, he has one in his school box, and then the other one I occasionally will just put out when we're doing school. Again, I'm a mom, and as well as a homeschooling mom, and so I don't always remember to put it out. But again, he's got kind of that name tag area where he's able to put 2 and 2 together, that's his name. And so that was really helpful in our preschool time, where was last year, where he was able to see that when we were doing school time. And then of course him being able to attempt to trace it. He really wasn't good at tracing until actually the summer term. He got really good at that, which would have been in 2024 of the summer. And so now we're, almost to 2025. And he's phenomenal at tracing his name. So let's go ahead and go through some other ideas. So this is really good for not only name recognition and letter recognition, but it is just really good for him to start being able to build his name. So they obviously each come out, and then he can put them in. And so what I really like about the puzzle, and you'll see this through a lot of the different activities I have, is I do a lot of like, let's just do this. Dump them out, and where he has to almost match, right? So he will find the N, and then he'll find the E. And so you can see where this just kind of builds on that recognition of what is going to come next after building. And again, you do have to teach your child this, and this is why name puzzles are really good, because normally when you do a puzzle, right, your kid is just going to do whichever pieces. But this, you really want to start focusing on, okay, now do the next one. This is actually really hard to do backwards looking in the camera. And then, he's going to find the next one, right? Just don't have them go all over. They do want to learn that sequential sequence of each letter. So eventually they can start writing the N, E. Okay, so this is also really good for putting different things in here. Again, this is wood. I don't think it is coated with anything, so forewarning with that. This was a gift for me that one of my friends gave me when I was pregnant, and then my other son, she got him one as well. But I know you can get a lot of these on Etsy. I'm sure Amazon does some of these. I will link what I can below. But even, you could put Play-Doh in here if you're feeling brave, and they could trace their name that way. You could do you could put a little bit of sand in here, and they could practice tracing that way. What's really good about this is you have the edges that they can stay in line of. And so that's one of my favorite things, is building on what you already have. And so the puzzle is great because it's carved, and then you could add different tactile options in there, such as Play-Doh, or do a little sand, and then he or she could practice tracing their name. And those we have done, and they're phenomenal. But like I said, really the point of these is going to be not that they're cute, but just that he or she, I'm sorry I keep saying that, obviously my son is a boy, so that he can practice his name in that sequential order. But also so that they can also practice the letter. And so you can say, oh, you put the N in. What is next? Oh, the E? Let's look for an E. So you're also trying to get that letter recognition, so they also can assign what comes next. And my son obviously has a very difficult name. You know, let's start a tally of how many times I'm going to say that. But you can also practice the letter sound. See, my son, it just doesn't really work because of his name. But, you know, if you have a K, you know, if your daughter's name is Kate, you could see where you could also, instead of saying Kate, what's next? Oh, let's do the K-A-T. Okay, so you could start doing the letter sounds. That would be really good as well. Because I know a lot of homeschool moms, as well as teachers, instead of teaching, you know, N, we teach the letter sound, and I teach them both in combination, but some people only choose to do the letter sounds first, so that would be really good as well if you're doing the name. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do, is kind of similar to that, we're going to keep on this building train. So my kids love magnet tiles, and so you could do this on, if you have a very active kid. These work on, at least here in America, how do I say this? Our doors are magnetic, like our garage doors outside, or like our actual front doors. Now I realize that's probably not even universal in the United States, so I apologize for saying that. Okay, but most doors are magnetic, like your storm doors or whatever they're called. And so, but even garage doors tend to be magnetic. So if you have a kid who's like super active, this is a fun one. And you can write with a dry erase marker, or if you're feeling like, hey, my kids don't mind, you could put like a dot sticker on these. I just can't guarantee they'll come off. And then you could write the letter on it. And then if your child knows their letters, you could mix this up on the garage door, or the garage in your, like your actual garage door to go into your house, or your front door to come in from like your porch into your main area of your house. Those in my house are magnetic. And so I have put these on, and I'll say, oh, okay, let's spell your name. What comes first? And I might show him like this, and be like, okay, find the N, because he still can't do it like off the cuff, which is why we're working on it. But he might say like, oh, the N is first. So then he goes to the door and he finds, say this had an N on it. And then I would say, what's next? Oh, find the E. So then he would find the E. And he can build them like this next to each other. So it's very hands-on. If you have an active kid like I do and they need to move around, this is wonderful. If you have a kid that is like not too active, my second son is like that, he would sit on the floor and just build his name like this, How many times are they gonna fall? You can also do the little ones. So my son, obviously having, 8 letters in his name, the little ones are fun, so I could just do the N, the E, and it's not as big, but you do you. And so that's just another fun way you can build their name. Most people have letter blocks, and if you don't have letter blocks, you probably know somebody who has letter blocks, or you could even make something similar to letter blocks. And you know what? It's the same thing with magnet tiles. Taking out the magnetic option of the doors that Courtney's talking about, you could even do like a cereal box, or just any cardboard, right? Any Amazon box you have, you could cut it in squares, circles, whatever, and you could put the letters on there and have your child build it. Again, it's just a different way, okay? And so the same thing with blocks. If you don't have blocks, this doesn't mean you have to go out and buy them, especially if money is tight or that's just not something you want to invest in. You can find a way to make something similar to this. So, I'm trying to think of something simple you could do. I mean, if you have like any type of little boxes in your house that you're not using, or that maybe you buy a certain type of food and it comes in, or any type of container, you could put the letters on it, and it's the same concept, okay? So these are obviously these traditional type of wood blocks. If I would hold the letter the correct way, oh, that's a 1. That's why there's the L. Okay, well, it's got letters on it. So it's got the capital, and then it's got the lowercase, and then it also has animals that begin with that, and then it also has numbers, so whatever. Okay, but obviously, like, you could build, your child could search for the letters, and then they could build them, you know, and so again, it's that recognition of their name, but then it's also the recognition of the letters and the letter sounds, and then building it out into their name. So again, it can get old just tracing. Okay, it does, especially if you're like me and my son. I don't like to do the same thing over and over. So this is great. These are wonderful. And then, you know, I'm a huge advocate for any type of toy investment that is going to last, and I have multiple purposes for it. And if you have boys that like to knock things down, double purpose. You use it for homeschool, or even if you're not a homeschool mama or daddy, you know, you still can practice their name. All of this is going to work if you're like, hey, teacher says that, you know, daughter, son isn't really doing very well with their name. These are all things that you can do as well. I meant to say that in the beginning, and I'm sorry. But even if you're not a homeschool parent, I mean, this is going to be used for spelling. This is the Chuckle and Roar, by the way, and I haven't even opened these yet. But for when my son starts building, like cat, and then you prop it up here, and then he can spell it out. So finding like things like this that have multiple uses, and then like I said, if you have a daughter or a son who just likes to destroy things, then stack up those. I don't know how many times we have stacked these up and just knocked them over. So, okay, so now this was really fun. I did this, like, this was one of the first name activities I did. It's super cheap, super affordable. This is literally cardboard from, I'm pretty sure, either a pasta, like spaghetti box, or probably from cereal, a cereal box. And so I literally took dot stickers and I wrote my son's name on each one, right? And then I took regular size clothespins, and they don't stick perfectly, but I put the dot stickers on. You could even do, if you don't have dot stickers, sorry, it's focusing on my face. If you don't have dot stickers, you could also do, you know, I mean, just use what you have. You know, if you don't have dot stickers, you could use, a lot of people have that, why can't I think of what that tape is? Washi tape. A lot of people have that. Of course, it comes in a lot of patterns, so that might be kind of distracting. You could even just color, like with a crayon, and then on top of that with marker, write it. And then over here, just draw like a you know, an orange area. And then on this one where I wrote the letter H, you could just color orange here and write an H. So you don't even need dot stickers, okay? And then clothespins, you can probably look at the dollar store, or they're like super affordable. I almost think this was like, I don't know, I don't want to say the wrong price, but now the dot stickers I did buy, I will say that real quick, I bought the wrong ones where they're not matte, so I wrote with a Sharpie, and you can see where they kind of have washed off. So you do want to find the matte ones, or ones that say, I'll link them down below, but they're ones that say like write on only, and so they're meant to be written on. So anyway, so my son would take this, which is really good on building that fine motor, and he would match it. So not only is he matching the orange, but which has its own correction, but he's matching the in and the in, and then the E and the E. Now, if you don't want the color component, because that can get kind of distracting or almost become too easy, this is probably something I need to adapt more for his older age, where I would just do like a piece of cardboard, right? Like this side. And then I would just do like N, and he just needs to put them in the correct order. N, and then maybe this is E, and then he needs to put the E there. And so again, there's so many options you could do, and this is so affordable. So that was a great way for him to just start learning his name recognition. And that is one that I'm telling you right now, we're gonna branch off, and I'm gonna change that and make it more for him. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you is these are little felt, let's see. So these are little felt squares I got from Amazon. And then I literally took glitter glue. And if you don't have glitter glue, you can use just regular glue. But anyways, and then you could just sprinkle some glitter on it if you want. And what I did was I spelled out his name. And so not only is this really good tactile tactile way for him to, try doing his letters, the N, the E, but it's also just another way to kind of get that energy out for a kid who doesn't like to just sit down and do school, is he was able to sit on the ground and put these in order. Of course, right now we're still in the stage where he has to be able to see his name and then build it. But yeah, this is wonderful. And so if you don't have felt, it's totally fine. You could do note cards, and it's still that same concept where you could still do the glue and the glitter, or you could just cut your own paper. And again, it's that tactile feeling, and it's wonderful. Okay, so that is great way to build it. And then the other one you can do is these foam sheets. So if you don't have felt, you could do foam. And so of course you don't need to do them this big, but see, I have the N here that he could trace. I found that this was just a little bit too big for him. It was really good for him to like lay it out and spell his name. But as far as like tracing, like when is he ever really gonna trace it that way? The smaller ones were really good. I know the foam, you could just cut these to the size you want, but you could also, buy smaller foam sheets. And then I also have felt that is like this big as well. So again, maybe you like the bigger option. You could also do the felt idea on these really big ones. So all right, let me see what's next, what I have. Okay, so this was just kind of like a fun way for him. Again, just that letter recognition, letter order, and name recognition. And you can just take, again, it's focusing on my face, sorry, is you can just take one of these, they're spinning, but I took a pipe cleaner and they're nice and bendy. And then I took letters, I took beads that have letters on them. Okay, and I just had him use that fine motor and just put those letter beads in order on there. And he would look at his name and do that. And so obviously this would be really fun for girls, but my son really enjoyed it. He likes working with smaller things, and he likes that threading. I mean, this is not a bracelet by any means. He's not going to put this on. He didn't want to wear it, but he just really enjoyed working with the pipe cleaner and moving it around. Make sure they don't make it into a weapon and putting the beads on it. And you can find any type of beads you want. I actually got those beads a long time ago at the dollar store. So, it is super affordable. So this is just really quick. They're in a bag. They're the big popsicle sticks. I put dot stickers on as well. Once you buy dot stickers and you buy them in a bunch, it's like, what am I going to do with all these? So these I had, and then you could use envelopes, or I don't have the envelopes with me, so I'll definitely link them below, and maybe I can put a picture right here. And they're like vertical envelopes, and they come in a bunch of different colors. And so I bought those for color recognition for my son, where he would match the popsicle sticks that just had like the color sticker on them, so green and then blue, and it worked wonderful. But those I had a ton of, right? Because anything you buy from Amazon, you get a ton of. And so I would just write like a big N on the envelope, and like I said, I don't have them with me for some reason, and he would just match them that way and spell it in that order with those envelopes. So I will definitely link those below. Again, it's just repetition and seeing what works for your child. Okay, so hopefully I can fix the lighting through editing, but of course, because of where we live, it gets dark like super early, and I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot about that. So, and I really want to finish filming this. So hopefully I can finish the lighting, but either way, I hope it's not too painful to watch. So this is one of my favorite and my son's favorite ways that he enjoys doing his name. And I would say we do this probably at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 times a week. So we do this for his first name as well as his last name. Of course, for safety and privacy reasons, I'm not gonna put our last name, but just know this is a great way to do for your last name as well. And this is also great for doing like all capital letters, but also the capital and the lowercase, so whichever option you want to do. Okay, so what I have done is, and I'm going to try to remember how to do this because my son destroyed this, which, I mean, we destroy it after we do it. So is you're building that name. So he has his Nehemiah down at the bottom, and then I put, and you can do this any way you want. Again, for me, it was just a little bit more complicated because he has 8 letters. Obviously, if your son or daughter has, 4 letters or whatever, it's going to be a lot easier, but do how it works for you. And these are the Duplo blocks. And if you're, they're really affordable, especially if you get them around Black Friday, I believe. They can be like ridiculous deals. And you can use, I've used a dry erase marker, and so that's why you'll see that some of them are kind of erased off, but they have held up. But you could also do Sharpie if you want. So this is what I've done. So he has his full name at the bottom, and then he's going to have 2 sections. So he needs to make sure he puts them in the right order. So this is one, and he's got to make sure he would put that one before that. So then it spells Nehemiah. And then for whatever reason, he has to do that again. Just go with it, right? So he can try it one more time. I think the reason I did that was because he was really struggling at a point of doing like this side first and then that one. So I think I had him do it one more time. Okay, so then the next one he does is he has to put these in the correct order. So he has to do the NE. So it's those like 2 sets. So NE, again, this is actually really complicated doing this in my camera finder. So HE, then he's got to do the MI, AH. So it's just another way to kind of break down him building his name in segments, especially with a big name. Okay, so then he comes to all those individual blocks, right? So he's going to put the N on top, H, E, M, whoop, I, A, H. Okay, so there's different ways you can do this, of course, and do what works for you. Obviously, this last one is going to be the most advanced and also the most important one for your child. And again, he's still using it where he builds this, or he'll have the bottom. It just kind of depends which way we're doing it that day, and honestly, which blocks my 2-year-old has run off with while we're trying to do that. Okay, so the Duplo blocks, most people have Duplo blocks. If you don't have Duplo blocks, it is nice because they, I keep saying Duplo. They're not called Duplo. They're called like what, Mega Blocks? I will put the correct name right here. Good gravy. Okay. I'd like to say it's been a long day. And actually, it has been a long week. When you have a child that is sick, yeah. Okay. So, okay, the next thing we're going to do is just talk about tracing real quick, and then we'll get into a couple more activities. So this was like a freebie that I got from, one of those websites where it's like, hey, give me your email and you can have this for free, and that's what I did. And I don't see a name on this. So anyway, so it came with like a bunch of different ways for them to do their name, and obviously this was very intriguing for me because I want him to learn his name, and I wanted to see what worked for him. And so this one, I tend to put in these clear folders. So they're really nice. I will try to link some below. And this one, I will usually do like just a small little thing of Play-Doh. You could even do a pom-pom or whatever. Or if you handwrite this yourself, you could space them out more and do like a cotton ball, whatever you have on hand, right? And they're supposed to like push it down, like N, E, H, and it's supposed to be kind of fun where they can push the Play-Doh down, or maybe it's a gummy, or maybe, what is it, right? You use what you have, but again, it's just repetition, N, E, H, E. Okay, so then this is nice where it is tracing, where it actually has like the 1, 2 in there where he can learn which way he goes. And then this one he can do where he can just trace on the inside. So a lot of times when your child is first learning how to trace, they actually will learn to trace on the inside. Or at least that's what my son learned first, where they have a lot of open area to learn, and then they start getting onto the actual dotted line. Okay. And then this one we use at the bottom for him just building his name. So this would be where I would use the, I'm going to show you in just a second. You know what? I just realized I didn't bring them down. But if you get those magnetic letters, those magnets, those would be really good just to build his name. Or if you have any other type of letters, that's where he could build them out. Okay. So then I have this one. This is the one we're currently using for school. I made this myself on Canva, but you can download these from Etsy. There's also, like I said, this one was a free download if I gave them my email, which, you know, maybe a little sketchy, but it was a reliable resource, reliable website. I just can't remember who it was, okay? But a lot of times if you go to like TPT and you click free, like sort by free, and you do like name trace, you might be able to get one of these for free through TPT, and TPT is a reliable resource as well. Otherwise, the Etsy, they don't cost very much to do them. Have someone make it for you, and then they'll just, you know, a couple bucks or whatever. Like I said, I made this though because I have rights to this type of font. This is not a font that you get for free in Canva. This was one I actually have rights to. It's a long story, but anyway, so he can trace it this way, and he does it very good. It's very big, and because it's in this thing, whatever this plastic cover is called, I can just erase it. And then he also has it in the uppercase as well. So one of the other ways we were practicing his name, my son loves cars. I just drew this. And again, I think a lot of people, myself included, we just don't realize like, hey, how quick and easy it is for you to just make things yourself. And so I just did these as his parking spots, and this is his road. And then each car, you know, my son has a ton of these Hot Wheels. They're super cheap, super affordable, and he'll just drive this down and park it. And he loves this. He'll do this all the time. He thinks it's more of a game than anything. And then I just try to make sure he goes in order, and he'll do the E and then the H. So he thinks it's so cool that there are cars that together make his name. So it's the little things, right? So that one's a lot of fun. You can also do that for your last name as well. Okay, so I wanted to show you this. These are some Etsy products I have purchased. So like I said, if you don't have rights to a font like this, Etsy is a wonderful resource, and a lot of these things are very cheap. You do usually have to print them yourself. But like I said, TPT is also very reliable as well. And you know, it's really pretty easy for you to get a hold of those things. And then you can do what I did, where I laminate some of this stuff. So this one I just figured I'd show, because sometimes this is one of those things we forget when we're trying to teach our child their name. Like, you can also teach them their telephone number and their birthday. And so there are so many resources on Etsy that you can do this. And so this was in one of the packages for the name thing I got, and I just figured I'd show you where you can then practice, you know, putting your son or daughter's birthday, how old they are. And then this one, you're supposed to put the candles. So kind of attributing, sorry, that was my alarm, attributing a quantity to a numerical value. Okay, so I figured I'd just share that. But the other things that came in there was this. So this one also has like my photo. We don't do that. I am, and then he can put 4. You also can practice writing his name. So this will also grow with your child, which is really great. When your child gets to the point where they can just write it by copying or just write it out of memory. Not gonna lie, my card got completely full and I ran upstairs. Hence why I'm out of breath to get my other card. And then I realized I didn't grab my magnetic letters. So hopefully everyone understands magnetic letters. They are little magnets, and sometimes they have a foam covering. So like this material, that's what's on ours. I also do have the really cheap ones, which nothing against them, they work, and they're plastic, right? And so again, they can range in size. Most of them are probably like an inch. And so like I said, that would be really good for if you're trying to build your child's name, like right here. Okay, those magnetic letters. So again, even if you get the really cheap ones, and you're not putting them on the fridge or whatever, that's still really great to be able to use just building them on paper. So not gonna lie, I can't exactly remember what all I said with this, but this was from Etsy. And so I did laminate this, and I did do the Velcro. So I will list all that down below. And just in case this is something you're curious, you want to buy this, and then I will also list the laminating sheets I use, the laminator, and the Velcro. And I will tell you, it's a lot of work, okay? But it is so worth it, okay? Down to laminating the individual pieces and cutting them out. It is so worth it because we literally do this, like, we do 4 days of school out of 5, and we probably do this at least 3 days, okay? And he loves doing it, and his younger brother does too. So we're at the point right now where I just take all these letters off, and then he will use this, or mama calls out the letter of, okay, find the N, he'll find the N and put it. And then we're kind of at that point where I'll be like, oh, do you know what comes next? And then if he doesn't, then I'll say, can you find the E? And then he'll look for the E and he'll build his name. Okay, I had something similar last year that I made, and I would just write an N like right here under it, so it was kind of that matching component. But I think just calling it out, now that he has that understanding of what an N is and what an E is, he knows all these letters very good. If your child doesn't, then I don't think that's a bad idea to either do this where he has to match, or she, sorry, or just write with dry erase marker under there on the laminated sheet, or with a pencil, whatever. So, and then I have one for my other child, and then, so that's a trick. If you have more than one kid and you're gonna go through and do all this, just do it all at once. And so then I have this one where it's a little bit bigger, but again, if your child gets bored like mine, they can switch it up. Okay, same thing, just shake it up. So that's a wonderful way. I love that. I will link the one down below that I have and those resources as well. Okay, so the other thing is stamps. So I'm not gonna lie, stamps can be pretty pricey. I did buy these when they were on sale. Melissa and Doug is the brand, and they go on sale a lot. So I would just keep an eye out for them. This one has the uppercase as well as the lowercase. It also has like numbers and stuff. So if I can, and if I remember, I will link one down below that maybe isn't as like, wow, that's a lot of options, but maybe just basic letters and stamping. So this would be great with this idea of, instead of using like those magnet letters we talked about, you could use stamps and they could stamp their name. My sons love stamps, and why not have them stamp their name? So, and I tell you what, the first time we did that, my son stamped his name and he carried it around. He put it in his room. Like, I'm pretty sure it's still in his room, like in his drawer. And he was just so proud of himself because it was a little bit different than just writing. He actually stamped the letters, so he loved that. Okay, so I highly recommend stamps. That's also a great way for them to practice spelling words later on, kind of like this option, right? Where they, spell cat. Ooh, if I can do it right. Oh my, Courtney, put that word cat, and then they build it with the blocks. Same thing with the stamps and the magnets, goodness, all of that. And they can also practice, the corresponding A, and then stamp the A. Oh, you have a B. And you could do that on just a regular piece of notebook paper. Just write an A, and then they can stamp the A. So learning does not have to be difficult, and a lot of this you can make yourself. So here's the other thing I have, and this is a very common tool that you have probably seen. I can picture the lady who did this, and it went like viral on Instagram several years ago, and I'm pretty sure it still goes viral, and I can't remember her name, but I can picture her. I think her name is Susie. So credit goes to her, but this can be done again with their last name, their first and last name, because eventually they need to build it together. It could be done with their phone number, their address, and I think she has done it with all of those things, okay? And so it is just kind of building on that recognition of what is missing. So you could put your child's name up here, and this is just like a really big notebook. I tore these out, but it's a big notebook like this, and kids love anything that's, not the normal size, and they just fill it in. So you can see that he looked at it and realized something was missing, and you could cover this up, right? You could also do butcher paper, I think is the other stuff, and that I'm pretty sure is what Susie used on her Instagram and like put it on the wall. And you could also hang this on the wall, or your fridge, or your stove, or whatever. And so anyway, so he realized what was missing. And now I did sticky notes, she did sticky notes as well, and I think it's because it can be done multiple times. You wouldn't want to do like a dot sticker unless this is like a one and done, okay? And again, if you don't have like a big paper like this, I'll try to link something similar. This was one like an off-brand I got at Target, but you could do this a lot smaller, and you could just, if you're going to do this on like notebook paper, on a spiral bound notebook, you could just do the dot stickers, because again, you pay what you pay, you get like 5,000 or something. So to me, it's not that wasteful to do this exact same activity on just a regular notebook, and they just do the dot stickers, and they, put them in what's missing. So then obviously over here, he realized the H was missing. And then, you know, down here, there was another E, and you could do that through the entire way. So again, this is really good for multiple things. Okay, so this is another option you can do, and my son loves when we do this at any time. And this again, just I think goes more to just recognition of their name. We did a lot of this last year for his preschool year, where I would literally, and it's messy, but it's so much fun. So you write their name big like this, and then you trace it with glue. And like I said, just use, I don't know, I am not a glue person, so I don't know what the difference is between all the craft glues, but you definitely want like a liquid, right? Not a glue stick, you want like a legit craft glue. So you use like that white Elmer's glue or whatever it's called, and then you can put, what we do is we take like confetti, and I didn't bring the confetti with me, but you can buy it super cheap, and I'll link something down below. A lot of times people put that like in cards when they send them. You can also make them yourself. So if you take like your 3-hole punch, I know it's a lot of work, but if you take your 3-hole punch and you just punch different colors of colored paper, that was what I did. And I would recommend just buying confetti. It's a lot cheaper and save you your hands. And you can also do like the hole punch if you have it, but it's a lot easier just to buy it. And my kids love it. And so you take it, you put the glue, and they literally will just dump that confetti all over. And then, sorry, that's my alarm again, sorry. And then you literally just like shake it off, and it all falls off, and then you let it dry. Or you can just leave it on there. I typically shake it off though. You just don't want it to like start dripping. I think it depends how much glue you put on. If you put a lot, you could probably just leave it till it dries, and then when you shake it off, it'll all fall off. So actually, fun fact, if anyone cares. So I actually used to do that all the time when I had asthma attacks when I was little. And instead of my parents taking me to the ER and just first trying to do that at-home nebulizer, it was very scary as a young child. And you don't really understand what's going on. You literally can't breathe, but your parents are saying like, we need to at least try to use your nebulizer to open up your lungs. And in order for that to work, you really have to calm down and take deep breaths. And one of the ways that my dad, 2 of the things he would always do is that's how I learned how to shuffle cards. He taught me to shuffle that way. We would like practice laying out cards and stuff. The other thing we would do is activities like this, is he would put the glue on, and then I typically would actually like put shards of paper. So we would have a lot of like just ripped paper, piles of little ripped paper, and I would put that on. And that's actually how I would calm down enough to get that medicine in my lungs, which I'm sure now that's probably very controversial to use albuterol for asthmatics, but it worked, and I calmed down, and I learned my name. And I had a massive one because I think my dad connected like multiple pieces of colored paper together with my name, and I had that hanging in my room, I think, till I left home. So, you know, memories made. The last thing I was gonna tell you. So my son is at kind of like this really kind of critical point where like he needs to start writing his name, okay? Like off of memory. And so one of the things that I am going to do to get him in the habit of just writing his name is, now I don't have it, but it literally is gonna be like this. So we all know these stamps, especially if you're my age and you used to go to the library. This was like, they would stamp this in your library book. Like, let's bring this back, right? I remember working in the library and doing this when I was a kid. So anyways, so it's going to be like this. I ordered it from Etsy, and it had different fonts that you could choose. And so I chose the one that is dashed. So it literally is going to be, well, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, well, those are dots, but it's gonna be lined like this. So it's gonna be lined like this. The very fine line, and I have to sneeze. Oh, I hate that when you have to sneeze and then it goes away. Ugh, that probably means something. Okay, anyways, and so it is gonna say Nehemiah, and it's going to be dashed. And so what I'm gonna do is, it'll be like this size, is every time we do like a homework page where he, again, he's 4.5. It's not like we do a ton of work, you know, pages or anything, but we do some, you know, especially like cut and glue ones. And I'm just gonna put this on, I'm gonna go, And then what he is gonna do is then he has to trace it. So he's gonna get in the habit of putting it on all of his papers, but it's exciting, it's fun, because he loves to trace. He's really good at tracing, and that is hopefully going to be a good step for him. Is he's just going to start, it's going to get redundant, but like in a good way, where this is good just to learn his name and build his name. But we also, I think, do need kind of that redundant of, hey, you're doing this homework, put your name on it, you know. And he is funny where he tells me like, Mama, we need to put my name on this. Like, he has told me numerous times, so I don't feel like this is like, you know, crossing a line with him, right? So we're gonna do this, he's gonna practice tracing, and then my hope is eventually I can take this away and he can just write his name. And so that's where I'm at. Let me know, comment below if you have any great ways to practice your child building. I know people who are watching this video would love to hear what you have to say, and I would love to hear what other ideas, because a lot of these we've been doing for a while and it's starting to get a little old. And so I am trying to level them up or find other ideas without, you know, going out and buying a bunch of stuff. But at the same time, it is to that point where my son, you know, he's almost 5, and so I don't want to like compare him to other people, but I feel like he is starting to be expected to write his name, and we're just not there, like from memory, right? He can trace his name, but I want him to be able to like sit down and literally just write Nehemiah. And so this is coming, and I hope it works, but let me know if you have any other ideas of how to get your child to that point where, hey, they know their name, they know the letters, but they're writing it from memory. So, all right, well, I will see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe. That tells me you like this video, but also subscribe so you can see what other videos are coming. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.